So,
Okay, yeah, now we're good. I think it's recording
there.
now.
We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Monumental Mindsets, episode
Episode 2, baby. Number dos.
dos.
Speaking Spanish.
Speaking Spanish. I know a little bit of Spanish. No.
But yeah, so like you were saying like but yeah, I think there's like a lot of truth in that though. Like when you're like going through something, right? Like when you're like in like a dark time or something and something even like painful happens, like you use that a little bit different, right? Like,
Mhm.
those tattoos that, you're talking about like from the chest and stuff, like when you're getting like the needle pricked on you, like when you're going through something, right? Like it feels different, like you have a different emotion associated to it. But I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. Because it's like when you're going through those dark times and you use that. I almost use that pain to overcome it because it's like a different pain, right? Instead of like the emotional pain in my mind, now I'm distracted by this physical pain on my chest, right? And it's like
Hmm.
just going. I'm just like focusing on that and like almost like healing through a different kind of pain. And it's a weird thing. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like I'm almost healing my emotional pain, like mental pain, with like physical pain. Not like it's not like a bad physical pain. I'm getting a tattoo, but like it's like almost like a way for me to how do you explain? It's like an outlet, right? It's like if same thing.
Hmm.
If I had a bad day at work, I go to the gym and lift some weights and now I'm feeling a lot better and a better, mind state of mind. When I get a tattoo, I'm like high afterwards. It's the weirdest thing. It's like I feel great and like pumped up. It's the weirdest thing.
Mhm, mhm. Maybe it's like releasing some kind of like dopamine. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's like this weird release of dopamine where it's like where usually you would associate this like with, this what makes me feel good. You know what I mean? And then like even though you're going through something bad, you're channeling it as like, oh, this made me feel good before. And then like while you're going through the dark time and like, this like it's like a good feeling that comes out, so your brain releases like dopamine because it feels good.
Right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it might be, and it almost feels like I conquered something, right? Because like getting a chest tattoo is like fucking hurts, right? Because my brother got it, and he's like, dude, there's no way you're gonna be able to fucking do it. So I almost look at it as a challenge, like I'm gonna fucking man this up and do it, like no problem. So it's almost like I conquered it, right? It's like, okay, this is supposed to suck. This is supposed to be like the worst tattoo to get, like right on the sternum and like around the
Mm.
stuff too. It's and it, when I got through it, like I felt like I conquered something. Like I was scared. I conquered like a fear, like, and we're about to talk about fear. I was
Yeah.
I was scared to go in there. I was like, oh, my brother talked this up like it's gonna hurt like a bitch. I gotta crush my sternum and like tingle my titties and like, you know. But then like, it's like I'm just gonna go for it, and once I got out of there, I felt like so like accomplished, like overcoming a fear. I guess that's a way of saying it too. It's like
Mhm.
scared, and I just said, let's do it. Jump in the fire and get this chest tattoo done, and it wasn't that bad. You know,
Jump in the forge, baby. That's what it's all about, right?
yeah, yeah.
Hopping in the forge and being like, yeah, because like, I can 100% see that. Like I haven't gotten a tattoo in like a really long time, but I remember like I think I think the last one I had was like my wrist, and when it was hitting the bone, I remember like when it was hitting the bone, like that little nubby bone right here, like
Yeah,
on your wrist. I remember when I was getting that like part done, I was just like, man, I was like, I don't know if I ever want to get a tattoo like on the bone part again. So like I can only imagine like when it's like hitting like right where your fucking heart is, like right inside like that. There's
mhm,
not a lot of meat like right in the middle, like of your sternum right there. So I can only imagine like how that feels.
right. Yeah, it's like almost like how to explain it because I don't know how it feels. I don't know how that feels, but it almost feels like a knife is like cutting through your chest. I don't know how that feels, but like if I like imagined it, I feel like that's how it would feel. I
I
don't know,
I had that done yesterday.
but
Then I
you
took these meat mortars out and I was like,
but yeah, man, that was like that was like one of my darkest times is when I got that tattoo, and it was almost like when it's almost made me feel accomplished. Like I'm just gonna go in and you know I'm I'm scared to death, but I'm gonna go in there. I'm just gonna get this tattoo done, and I went through it, and I'm sitting there like in a whole different world, like while I'm getting it done. But
mhm.
stayed mentally strong through the whole thing, and it's like you know it it's like conquering, like I said, it's like conquering a fear. Like it's gonna hurt, it's gonna, but like at the end of it, I'm gonna have this awesome like very meaningful art piece on my chest. And I was like, I'm gonna go
Mhm.
get there, not everyone's like really into tattoos, but for me, like all my tattoos got so much meaning, like emotionally, right? Like my brother, other people, like, how do you come up with all these great ideas? I'm like, because all the stuff that goes up in my mind, it's just that's how I portray it I literally wear my feelings on my sleeves, right?
Mhm.
All my tattoos got such deep meaning to it, and then I can always look back and be like, wow, I went through all these times that made me who I am today, and it's crazy. Like all my tattoos tell the whole story of my life, and that's
Mhm.
it's cool.
Yeah, no, that's like that, and like that's probably even like more like as you like go through life, right? Like when you have, like when they say like, I have like my heart on my sleeves, or like I wear like, just like you said, right? Like I wear like my emotions on my sleeves. It's
Yeah,
almost more meaningful than if somebody's just like, randomly putting pieces on their body that might mean something to them,
right.
right? But like I think if you have something that's very symbolic to you, like you walk around with that thing different, right? Or
Yeah,
like when somebody has like a like maybe like a Barker, but when somebody has like poor associations to things like tattoos or whatever, and like but like if they
Mhm.
would hear you out for a second and they'd be and you say like, hey, look, like this has like a a big emotional like something deep inside of me, like this resonates, and let me share that story with you, then they
Right.
would probably look at that so much different than if it was just like, oh yeah, I got this skull tattooed on me because I really like skulls, like,
Mhm.
and that might be cool, right? And
Right.
like maybe that's that's somebody's groove, right? Like they and like I have tattoos like myself, right? So like it's not like anything, I'm not, judging that like in a negative way. Like if somebody just wants to get something, totally, get it or whatever, right? That's awesome. Because I think art, but I guess like even the display of art too, right? Like if you just want to like showcase somebody's like skills or something, I think that's awesome too. But I think it's there's power in holding like those emotions on you or whatever, right? Because you're
Right.
right, like you look back at that and it's like a book, right? It's like a book of emotions that you hold on you.
Right. And like, I look back at my life and like all the hardships I've been through, and it made me who I am today. So like, I don't regret anything that happened in my life. I don't, at those moments I thought I regretted things I did, right? But like, because of everything that happened in my life, it made me who I am today. And and I have it all on my body to kind of remind me that, it's like I've been through all this shit, and like made me the strong person I am today. And it's
Mhm.
never regret anything. And that's the way to look at things, right? Because you can look in the past and you can um, regret things you've done, and that you're gonna feel shitty about it, like, oh, I should have done this at that point in time. But you gotta learn to live in the present moment, right? You can't live in the past because you're just gonna regret everything, and you can't change it. It is what it is, right? You just gotta learn. Just make sure you learn from the past and move on. And then the same thing, because then that's when you get depressed, and that's where I always was, right? It's like, dang, I should have treated this person better in this situation 10 years ago. It's like, I guarantee that person's not even thinking about it, but I'm thinking about it. It's like I should have been nicer to that person 10 years ago. But it's like, no, you don't like, obviously, like, okay, it comes up in your head and be like, okay, I'm gonna do better next time when something like that happens, because now I learned from that experience, right? And it's
Mhm.
important because, like, man, I beat myself up for years on stuff that happened in the past, and it's just, oh, and you get so depressed. You're like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done this, and like, I'm guilty of being like a perfectionist too. So like, if I don't like address certain situations that have gone perfectly, it's just like, man, I beat myself. Perfection's like poison. I never try to be perfect. It's just
Yeah.
do your best and that's it. But you have that in your past, and then if you try to like think about your future too much, you get anxiety, right? Because like if you think in your past, you get more depressed. Thinking the future, you get more anxiety. And it's like if you just focus on the present and set yourself up, your future is gonna be what you aim for, right? So don't overthink things. And then people get scared and they're afraid of the future, and afraid of changing, afraid of doing different things. And you gotta change in order to improve your life. You can't be doing the same things over and over. You gotta get outside your comfort zone, right? And I know that's kind of the topic we want to talk about today, is kind of overcoming your fears and using fear to kind of grow and you know become a better, not a better person, but just improve your life overall, and have more of a growth mindset, because you can get stuck in those same ways if you just you hit a wall when you reach a fear, and you're like, oh, I step back and I'm still where I'm at 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Like if you want to start a business, start the business. Don't sit there and be like, oh, I might fail this and that, because I think in that level up book they say like 97% of fears are made up, right?
Mhm.
Huge
It's
number.
in your head.
Yeah, it's in your head, it's made up, and, it's all perceived fears, and it's not real. If you know, and then you gotta take those chances in order to grow, and they say also, like, when you have that fear, it's you reaching your end of your comfort zone, right? And once you reach the end of your comfort zone, that's when you wanna leap, and that's when you're gonna grow, right? So
Mhm.
you don't want those fears to hold you back, you wanna recognize that fear and be like, "Fuck yeah, I'm scared, so I'm gonna do it." And then
Mhm.
once you do it, you feel so good. Like for me, I always had like social anxiety. Like I don't like talking to people I don't know and this and that, right? So like I've been challenging myself, like, if I try to talk to someone I don't know, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're not gonna bite my nuts off. So you know,
Chomp it like a gorilla.
you know? Like for me, I've challenged myself once a day to have a conversation with someone I really don't have a conversation with, right? And just initiate it. And I'm scared to do it at the moment, like I'm very scared, but I'm like, I'm scared because this is uncomfortable. I need to grow. So then I do it. I have like a decent 5 minute conversation. And then afterwards I feel so good. Like I've conquered it. I'm growing, like, because to be a good communicator in general, and just to have that like social confidence is such a big thing in my life because like I've never had that. And I've been trying to conquer that fear, and that's a made up fear. It's a made up fear. Like, what's the worst is going to happen if I talk to someone I don't know, right? It's just I don't even know what I'm scared of. Like, I know I'm scared because I'm just not used to it, right? So it's like that made up fear in your mind. You're protecting yourself from something that's not even real.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like what one of like the most one important. I have two things written down here that I'm gonna come circle back to, but I think one of the most important things that you're talking about right now is like when you push yourself into like those conversations, right? Like when you're not so much like if you've had social anxiety before and you're not so confident about stepping into those conversations and having those even if they're 5 minute conversations about the weather or 5 minute conversations about how shitty the traffic was or something, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think the most important thing about about that, right, is that it's kind of like the gym reference, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a lot of gym referencing because I think
Love gym,
this
baby.
it translates so well into life, right? But I think that it's like doing reps, right? Like if this is something that you're bad at, it's like it's like a it's a skill acquisition, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
developing the skill of introducing yourself inside of 5 minute conversations or talking about the weather to different people or
Right.
saying we should get different water bottles here or something. I just look at my water bottle, but like we should get different water bottles here because it's destroying the planet or something, right? But it's like it's putting yourself inside of those situations and just developing the skill, just like this podcast, right? Like it's this is new territory. This is
Yeah.
something that both me and you are like brand new at exploring in this, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
think like what at some point, right, it's going to become like having conversations like this is going to become so much more natural, so much more fluid. We'll become so much more fluent doing this, and it's because it's a skill acquisition, right? You're
Right.
getting under the bar, you're doing the reps, and you're pushing like the linguistic jujitsu with like your tongue, right? And like you're developing this new skill by doing that. But
Right.
two other things that you touched on, I think that were really good. I'm gonna write the other one real quick because this is how I'm gonna circle back to these two things. And I think like when you were talking about like those like when you wish you could have done better in the past, or like you wish you could have presented something else to somebody. I think it's really important for us to like understand that like you don't that not to be too hard on ourselves or anybody out there, right? Not to be too hard on yourself because Jay Shetty said one time, and it was really cool in one of his podcasts. He said like you can't beat yourself too much, or you can't beat yourself up too much about the tools that you didn't have that you now have, and then you're judging yourself on on what you could have done better with the tools you have today. And I
Exactly.
think that's powerful because like if you're trying to build a house, right, and you built it, right, but it's not the best house that you built, and the next house you built, you went to Home Depot and you bought like a different hammer or like a different sawzall or something, and the cuts came out different and the trim came out different or something, you know, you had new tools to do it the second time that you didn't that you didn't have the first time, right?
Yep.
So it's like, judging your first project, and your second project the same
Mhm.
is it's I think it's like it's really bad for like, yourself mentally because you couldn't have done what you could do the first time the same as you did the second time.
Right.
And then um when you touch on like anxiety and like depression, right? I really think it kind of boils down to this. Like, I really think that like when you boil down anxiety, right, it's all these things that are bouncing around in your head. You're like, man, I really should, get. And I was actually kind of talking to Susie about this yesterday, when uh, we went to like dinner last night, but I was kind of like talking to her about this yesterday. It's like when you have anxiety, it's like you have too many choices that you're not making right now, right? And or you have too many choices about, the things that you should be doing. And it's like, oh, I should take the garbage out. I should, wash the dishes. I should go clean the toilets. I should be cleaning the floor. I should be mopping or whatever, right? And you're not doing any of those things. But if you just make a choice and you do one of those things, all of a sudden, all that anxiety goes away because you started, right? You made a choice, you started, and you're just like, okay, I feel so much better because I made that choice,
Exactly.
you know?
You're
And
moving
then,
in the right direction, right? So everyone gets anxiety over the end goal, right? But like, don't think
right.
about the end goal. Think about the next step you need to take, the next step you need to take, and anxiety goes away because you know you're working in the direction you need to go.
Right, right, right. Like when you have that, the dream outcome of those things, right? The dream outcome is like, I want my house cleaned, right? But I don't know where to start. Well, if
Yeah,
you just start with one thing, eventually you'll get the house cleaned, even if it takes you a week,
exactly. Yeah.
and then like you touch on like the depression thing too, like when you were talking about like the anxiety too. And I
Mhm.
really think that like, like when you boil down depression, it's kind of in the same boat of like when you're talking about anxiety, right? It's like anxiety is like, I have all these decisions and I'm not making them, and that makes you depressed, right? And
Yep.
then depression is just like, well, I'm minimizing it at this point, right? And I'm not trying to do that because we all know that like you and I both know that it's fucking like rough. But like, depression is like, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, you're just you're not taking action, you're not making choices, and you're dwelling in those things, right? But if it's the same thing, right? If you just did one thing, you'll feel better.
Yeah.
You won't feel great, right? But you'll feel a little bit better.
Right. Yeah. And I read that woulda, coulda, shoulda book. I forgot who wrote it, but like, that was me because I'm always, oh, I coulda, woulda, shoulda done this. I coulda, woulda, shoulda done this shit. Like, it's always like, I'm always like living in the past, like, oh, I should have done this. I should have done this. Instead of doing that, like, take the lesson and apply that to that situation if it happens again, or apply it to a new, if you fucked up in a relationship in the past and it just didn't work out. Now you learn from it, right? You don't
Hmm.
dwell on it. Don't like, just keep on beating yourself up over it because there's nothing you can do about it now, right? It's take what you learn so it doesn't happen again and apply what you learn to the next. It's just it sucks to happen, sure, but like you gotta take your lessons and apply them. Otherwise, you're gonna go in the same loop, right? And the same things are happening over and over again if you don't take the lessons from the past. And I've been there. I've made the same mistakes over and over again. And I finally sat down and said, "Why is this happening?" Right? And I dug deep in the root cause of like why I kept on doing these same things, and now it's like I know exactly why I did it, so now I can avoid it in the future. And and it's like I'm not even afraid that I'm gonna do it again because I'm so like, this is what I did before. I'm not gonna do that again, and this and that. Because before, instead of like learning from it, I would just beat myself up over it and over and over it again. And for some reason, I fall in the same pattern because I never really addressed it. I just lived in it, and I almost
Hmm.
felt comfortable being in that same situation. Like, it's a weird thing. You get comfortable in trauma. I don't even know how to explain it, because I'm not like an expert on this stuff, but like from my personal experience, like I got addicted to going into the same trauma over and over. It's like it's weird. It just,
It like it desensitizes you,
right.
like when you get comfortable in it. And I think that's like, that's part of like the human animal. We love to get comfortable, right? Like
Mhm.
I think it's like there's this part of your brain. I don't know if it's this part, but I think it is this part. It's called the basal ganglia. It and it's called the basal ganglia of your brain, right? And this is the
Mhm.
part that like it's the part of your brain that you can take action on, or it's inaction, right?
Right.
So either one of those you start to train. And the more you train this thing, the more it gets like the more it gets stronger, or the more it gets like weaker, right? But it's like it's this is the part of your brain that takes action, right? Like you have the prefrontal cortex, like when you're thinking about stuff, and like there's the amygdala or whatever. But like this is like the most important. It's a very small portion of your brain, but this is the most important portion that you can train, because like the more you take action on those things, the more things that are hard, right, they become easier, and then you move the bar, you move like the baseline of that thing,
Mhm.
where where it's like where hard things get less hard because you keep on doing hard things. So like those hard things that you were doing get less hard, and now you have like a new resilience to like the hard things that you're gonna do, like cold plunges or like saunas or like going to the gym or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot of it too is, first you have to recognize that pattern you keep on falling into, and then you got to break that pattern and start new patterns. It's going to be hard, right? Like you said, you got to get your brain used to it, your body used to it. And once you finally make that new pattern and a habit, you realize like, wow, like this is so much better than, where
Mhm.
before. But like when you get lost in that same pattern over and over again, you're so used to it and you're like, this is everyday life. But then once you finally recognize it and you build that new pattern and like that aligns with the identity of what you want to be, who you want to be, it's just like,
Mm.
wow, I feel so fucking good. It's like this is who I want to be. Like I didn't even know this was possible. It's like, but once you set your mind to it and you just grind and hold yourself accountable and have that discipline on doing that habit over and over daily to get out of that old pattern, and you're like, wow, it feels so good to be out of that old pattern. It's hard because your body's so used to it, and you've done it for years or whatever. And it's you to break out of that, you really got to work at it and you got to be aware of it. It's not just going to happen overnight.
Mhm.
Because you're not, people would be like, oh, I tried this for a couple days, I'm still going back to the same habits. Obviously you need to like really like work at it and work on that new habit. And sometimes people are even scared to do that. This is who I've been for 30 years. I don't want to change. People are scared of change. And that's another thing, fear of change. There's fear of a lot of
Mm.
things, right? But fear of change, you don't want to change because it's the unknown. You're scared of the unknown. Like, who am I going to be? But there's nothing to be scared of because if you first identify who you want to be and you set the goals to be that, like I don't, it's not as scary as like, um, that you make it to be, right? Because you're so used to being like the same person for 20, 30 years, 10 years, whatever it is, right? That you get comfortable, but you're so scared to take that next step in your life. But if you really want to reach that identity of who you want to be, you got to jump and do it, right? And it's at first it's scary because you're like, man, like I don't know, this is not me. No, it's not the old you, but it's the new you, and it feels fucking good,
Mm.
because that aligns with who I want to be, with my identity. And it helps really to like write down your identity, right? They call it like a thing we talked about before, like the mission statement or whatever you want to call it, like you know what who you want to be in life, right? Write that down, and writing down everything, just kind of helps, you know. And once you have that, and you know do these things that align with that, it's gonna feel good. It's gonna be a little scary at first because you're not used to it, right? But it's your body kind of preventing itself from change, and it's because you always want to go back to the old habits, back to the old habits. You really got to have the discipline to force yourself forward, right? And have that growth mindset because you're always gonna be in that like kind of fixed mindset, like, oh, I'm comfortable on that. I'm
Mhm.
used to being here. This is what I'm used to. But if you want to take that next step, you gotta embrace the fear. Don't try to get rid of your fear, but embrace it and learn to embrace your fear. Because when you reach that fearful point, that's the point of where you're gonna grow, right? So you're like, yes, I'm scared right now, but this is where I'm gonna grow. So I'm gonna take that next step. Like, for me trying to become more of a social person. Oh fuck, I approach the person. This is where I'm the most scared. I'm like, first word, right? I'm not like once I get going, I'm not that bad. But like, what do I say? Like, I get scared, right? But, okay, this is where I need to say something. Like, just do it. And then once I do and get the conversation started, I'm like, wow, this feels great. I'm embracing this fear, and I'm, you know,
Mhm.
growing as an individual, and improving my weakness of, you know, talking to people. I don't even call social, uh, you know, and that's because I've always been like, when I was younger, even though I went to family parties, like I go on my game. It's almost like kids on their phones nowadays, right? But back in the day, I had my Game Boy playing Pokemon, catching,
Catching a Blastoise.
so I wouldn't like. I never had like that. I was never that social because I would, get stuck doing that. That's how I felt comfortable. And, I don't know. Certain things in my childhood maybe made me feel that way, but I don't want to be like that anymore. So I have to step out of my comfort zone. It's not going to be easy, and it's scary, right? Because I'm so used to like being, being, you know, not stuck by myself, but like just sticking to myself, right? Like even when I go to the gym, like yeah, I mean obviously I go to the gym just to work out, I'm in the zone, but like if I just make it a point to talk to somebody for 5 minutes, like to work on my like social health, it feels so much better. It's just like okay, let me just talk to someone for 5 minutes, so I feel
Social health. That was a good way to put it, social health.
yeah, my social because your brain's made to be like a I don't know what they call it, like a so it's made to be social, right? It's like you
Mhm.
need to be social with other humans to be healthy, And when you kind of hermit yourself for so long,
You hermit crab yourself.
I'm hiding in my shell, and it's tough. But yeah, I kind of rambled down there, but go
No, no,
ahead.
no, you're good, you're good, you're good. No, it's, no, I think what's really important is, like, what you said there is, like, identity, right?
Hmm.
I think, like, I think, like, if you identify yourself as, like, somebody who's, I've been stuck in this pattern for 20 years, right? And
Hmm.
you continuously tell yourself that I can't change, I can't change, I can't change. Nothing's going to be different. Nothing's going to be different. I'm going to go to the, same job, and I'm going to come home to the, same wife who doesn't love me or whatever, right? Like, and you keep on feeding yourself this thing, of course nothing is going to happen, right? Of course nothing is ever going to change because your identity didn't change. But
Right.
as soon as you flip the switch inside of your head and you say, like, hey, you know what, like, my life is worth, like, it doesn't mean like you have to, like, radically change your life and be like, I'm abandoning my kids, abandoning my wife, and I'm just going to up and leave to Mexico and start a fucking clinic or something. But but I think, like, what I think, like, the important thing is like, the moment, like, you tell yourself, when you're just like, hey, I need to create a new identity for myself, right? I need to be like, I can be a gym goer, right? I
Hmm.
can be somebody who can learn a second language. I can be somebody who can, be an efficient dog walker or something, right? I
Hmm.
think once you flip the switch inside of your head and you say, like, I need to identify myself as something different, maybe not a dog, right? Like, you don't have to be like a like a furry or something, but like
Right.
but like, I'm saying, like, as like a, like, if you just start identifying yourself and you say, like, hey, I'm not an alcohol drinker anymore, right? And if
Right.
somebody else offers you alcohol and you say no, right? That's because
Hmm.
you have a different identity to that. You have something that's completely differently associated inside of you,
Hmm.
right? Or like, if you say, like, hey, you know what, maybe I can change my, maybe I can take a course for 6 weeks or whatever, right? And I've always wanted to do, like, you know be like an auto mechanic or something, right? Maybe I'll go see if I can get a job there or something, if someone will, apprentice me or something, like, just for, like, simple examples, right? But
Right.
like, the more people say, like, I can't change, I'm stuck, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is the city that, I live in for the rest of my life, of course that's going to be like that. But on the flip side of that, if you do identify as something else, right? Or if you see something else, just like you said for that mission statement, and I think that's so important, right? Is like, the moment you write it down, right? And then the moment you start making, like, little trees from there, and you kind of, like, reverse engineer it, like, whatever, right? Like, I want to have, 10,000 in my bank account or something, right? How do you
Mhm.
reverse engineer that, right? Well, I'm going to stop spending money at Starbucks because I spend, $500 a month or whatever, right? All of a sudden, like, per month, you start adding that up, and it's just like, okay, well, I saved all that money by the end of the year just by not spending on coffee. What else can I reverse engineer to get me to my goal,
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
just like simple things like that.
Hmm. Yeah. The biggest thing is having that identity who you want to be, and not you have to overcome that fear of change because like in order to become that identity of who you want to be, you have to overcome some fears, some boundaries that you've never done before, right? Like for me,
Mhm.
talking to people, having conversations. I don't do that, but now I do. The old me didn't do that. I'm not a people person, but now I'm talking to people, and and it feels good. Like because it's who I want. Because for me, like when I'm looking at like my mission statement, right, I want to affect people's lives in a positive way, right? And if I don't talk to people, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
yeah, 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 yeah.
helped me overcome that fear, right? We're doing these podcasts, almost on a weekly basis, and this helps me overcome it because I don't like being on a screen. I don't like hearing my voice. I don't, it's just like,
Same.
but, but now I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna, I just want to, if I can touch, one person and change them, this makes me feel so much more fulfilled in my life that we're pursuing this together, right? Because one, it helps us like stay accountable to continuous improvement of us, in our mindsets, but also like, for those who follow us on, Instagram or Threads or on our YouTube channel, and you know, even if it's one person, two people, like it feels great. It's like, wow, I
Mhm.
affected this person's life in a positive way, or I help them overcome one thing in their life that they struggle with, and even for that one day, and it just feels good because
Mhm.
it feels like so much more of a purpose doing this, and then I guess. And we're not doing this to become like famous or anything, it's just like people laugh. Like you say, like people laugh at us, oh, they're doing podcasts. Who are they? And we're not doing it for that. We're doing it for ourselves, and we're doing it like to touch a few people. And if it gets big, fuck yeah, like that's awesome.
Yeah, right?
It's but for now, we'll take it step by step, and we're just learning the ropes, getting our repetitions in. We're doing this podcast on the fly, and it just is what it is. And this is part of conquering the fear because I.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. This is like part of like conquering that fear, right? Because I have like that same thing as you, right? Like I don't like to hear my voice like when I talk. Like even though like my house would probably say something different because I'll be like, oh, did you hear what Alex Jones just said on the? And I'll just start talking to them. They'll be like, shut the fuck up.
Mhm.
But like seeing my face on camera or something, or like hearing my voice again, like as I'm just talking and not like doing music or something, like this is very uncomfortable for me, right? But I know that like doing something like this, like I know at the on the other side of it, like kind of like what I was writing about, but like I know on the other side of these things, right, there is me on the other side of that, right,
Right.
and there's you on the other side of that. And
Mhm.
it's like if you can just conquer the fear of like, I don't like being on camera, I don't like hearing my voice, I don't like having these uncomfortable conversations about, things that I struggle with, right? Like social, social health and stuff like that, or mental health, whatever. But it's like if you can, this is like it's such a growth process, like just from this little thing, right? Like
Mhm.
just from this conversation, just from the one before, right? Like you start to transform into somebody else all of a sudden because you pushed yourself. You used the stretching method, right? And I love when I heard this thing, man. I'm telling you, I've mentioned it like hundreds of times probably since we've been on the phone and stuff. But like this stretching method is like, it's like as soon as you like experience discomfort, as soon as you say like, like for me, right, like when I wake up early in the morning and I'm just like, fuck, maybe I'll sleep in today because I earned it, right? I've
Yeah.
already went to the gym 35 times or whatever in the last or, the last like month and a half or whatever, right? And I'm telling myself I earned it, but then I say like, no, 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 I was like, you didn't earn anything, right? Like today you earned the right to wake up and walk and you know or you didn't earn it, right? You will earn it once you get moving, once you get going, right? Like you earn those things by going after it. But like, as soon as I, start to like find myself saying those things to myself where I'm like, okay, like, let's not do this, because I immediately try to like switch it in my head. And this has been like the big shift for me like this year, right? Like in these last like 6 or 7 months is like noticing when I don't want to do something, taking
Mhm.
immediate action and just doing it anyways.
Right.
Like I think this has been like the biggest transformer for my life. Like if there's anything real about alchemy, and like this, mixing potions together or whatever, like I
Mhm.
think you can do that inside of yourself and you can say like, and I think it starts there, right? If you experience discomfort with something, get in front of the camera. If you don't
Right.
like hearing yourself, get in front of a microphone,
Right.
or even as simple as taking out your phone, right, and just
Mhm.
making a voice memo to yourself and listening to it or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah. And one of my biggest fears too is like fear of rejection. It's not even rejection, like how do you explain it? Like for example, doing this, like people are gonna laugh, like what the fuck are they doing this for? And that's like my fear of mine, right? It's like I
Mhm.
know people like my friends and stuff, like what is he doing? Like he's being different and like weird and but it's just me becoming the individual who I want to be, right? And you just gotta do it. And it's a fear of mine where like I'm not accepted by like friends or people or whatever, but you got to block that out and just do what's truthful to you and what's authentic to yourself, right?
Mm.
Because I think we talked about last time is my whole life I mold into other people so I can fit into the their identity or their who they are currently, just so I can fit in and feel accepted, right? But then I lose myself, and you're just not happy because you're not fulfilling your own life. And now that I'm finally like, this is what I want in my life. This is what I'm gonna do. I don't care what people think, right? And you just gotta. I think in that. what was it called? The Four Agreements book. I think it's one of the things of like not worrying what other people say, not worrying what other people think of you, and just doing you. You know, I think that was one of the Four Agreements. I could be wrong, but it's something similar to that, right? And it's just doing what's authentic to yourself. You have to do that. You can't because you get stuck in this paradigm of trying to be like, for example, right, when you're a young kid, if you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever, that's like the cool, that's not the, that's like the thing that parents want you to do, right? And if
Hmm.
you do that, like, you're the man. But no, if it's not fulfilling to you, you don't need to do that. You can be an artist, you can be, a musician, you can be where the fuck you want to be, you can be a business, whatever touches you and what's authentic to yourself is what you need to do, right? You don't want to give in to the social norms of the world because they push it on you, right? And that comes in a lot of ways. It's like all these social norms that are pushed, especially with social media now, that like you all these people post on social media when they travel all these fancy places. They do it more for the show than they do it for themselves. Like maybe
Mm.
they even enjoy the trip, but they're posting pictures of like just to make it look like they had the best time of their life to other people. Like who the hell cares? Like, don't do things to impress other people. Do things for yourself. And I'll
Mhm.
do that plenty of times. I'm not gonna lie, and that's the growth I've taken is just doing what's authentic to me. Parker, hear that, buddy? He thinks there's an intruder. He's my guard dog. Big what?
Someone's coming to put that butt butter on you.
But where was I at? Oh, just doing
Uh,
what's authentic to you, right? Is that what that's talking about?
yeah, you were talking about being doing what's authentic to you, and like, when people post on social media, they don't really, they do it more for like the vanity for other people, not necessarily to show, how much fun they really had, but
Right,
like they want to be like, "Hey, I'm here at the ocean" or something,
right.
right?
That's like, and like I think TikTok's like a big thing. You do all these stupid things and like just to get like the likes, the watch, the views, whatever, and it's like, are you really like being fulfilled by doing these weird dances? I mean, if you are, great, but like if you're truly doing it just to get like the likes and you look how many likes I got, how many views I got. I know it's like good for certain businesses and stuff. There's different uses of it, but you have to be authentic with it. It has to be
Yeah.
right. Like people like just post these things to make it look like they're living the best life. Just be authentic to yourself and don't worry what people think. And keep your life more private. Honestly, like don't let people infiltrate like your life and judge you because that gets in your mind, and it affects your life. And just being more private and moving in silence, just I think that's my only post on Instagram. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. The little Wayne quote in the song. But it's so true because like when you move in silence, you're not letting these other people like, infiltrate your thoughts or like persuade you in different ways because they're judging what you're doing and like doubting
S-
you and because that gets
Social pressure.
the social pressure of certain things. Do you, man? And it's that's scary because you're like, oh, am I going to lose my friends or people are not going to think I'm cool? That's another like kind of a fear people have, right? It's like I'm not going to be accepted. Who the fuck cares? Like your real friends are going to accept you for who you are, right? Your loved one, your friends, your family, whoever they are, they need to accept you for your authentic self. If they don't, that says more about them than it says about you. And
Mhm.
it's you have to just be authentic and live your life. And if you want to become something you always wanted to be, don't be scared to do it because you're going to lose people in your life or you're scared of failure or all these different fears you have because of who you want to become, right? Like for me, I'm scared like, oh, if I become this new person that doesn't drink, I'm gonna lose some friends and this and that. But like at the end of the day, like if they're my real friends, which they are, it's like they're not gonna not talk to me anymore because I'm not drinking beers with them, right? If if my new identity is like I'm gonna have one or two drinks a week and mostly for celebration reasons, that's what I'm gonna stick to, right? And if like if my some of my friends don't accept that, then they're not my real friends. It's like it's they just have to accept you for who you are, be authentic, right? And that's one example, and also the fear of failure, right? Is like when I'm making these changes in my life, there's chances you're gonna like make mistakes, you're gonna fail along the way, but you learn even more, right? If you never take action, you're not gonna learn. So you just take the action. Okay, you might fail, you might not, but if you just think about, oh, I'm scared to fail, scared to fail, and you never do it, there's zero chance of you doing it, right? But if you have that
Mhm.
desire to do something, you stick to it. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fall back once in a while. You know, no one's perfect. Don't ever strive for perfection. You strive for perfection, you'll never get there. You know, it's just you take the next step, you learn something. Take the next step, you learn something. Keep on going, and don't be scared of mistakes because mistakes are good. You learn from mistakes, right? Kind of like us doing this. Like, we're gonna look back at these episodes and be like, okay, what can we do better? What can we do better? What can we do better? But if we tried to perfect the first episode, we'd probably take 10 years to make one episode. And it's like,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
so yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I really like what you what you kind of like when you said like the fear of losing people right there.
Hmm.
So I wrote that down too because like I really think that that is like a I think that is like a crutch that holds a lot of people back. And
Hmm.
I think that like, when you kind of like alluded to that thing, like if I stop drinking or something, right? Or if like or if, if somebody wants to do or get a new job or whatever, right? And all their friends work at this job or whatever, right? I think that is something that holds a lot of people back. Like if I stop doing this thing,
Hmm.
then I'm going to lose all those people.
Yep.
But I think, a really good way to like kind of, for somebody to kind of reframe that is just say like, hey, if I did it anyways, right? Would I be like the influence on them, right? Like to kind of like, take the next step and be like, and for them to say like, hey, you know what, like I kind of didn't like this job either, so I kind of want to leave and go do something else
Hmm.
also, right? And how long would they have stayed in that uncomfortable thing, like, drinking, for example, or staying at a job or something, right? If if you didn't take, or if somebody, right, if somebody didn't take that leap and change the job or stop drinking or whatever, right? Like you can be the influence, right? And all of a sudden that fear of you losing that friend
Hmm.
um gets squashed, and all of a sudden like you have a new bond, you have like new respect from that person, right? And if the people say, and if you left or something, or if you stop drinking and those people are like, hey man, like that's not cool what you did, but you feel like it was cool, that's all that matters. All that
Exactly.
matters is, at the end of the day, like what you think about yourself when you look into the mirror and you're like you're completely satisfied with the choices that you made, like you're completely satisfied with who's looking back at you in the mirror and who's smiling back at you. That's
Hmm.
all that matters, right? Like
Right.
if those people were to leave because you made a different decision with your life and they're not in your life anymore, then they weren't supposed to be there in the beginning or in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's really how I think about that. So I think that I think really that there's a lot of power in reframing things like that. I
Hmm.
think that that's probably where I think that people can draw like a lot of power from.
Right. And almost that's a good thing, right? Because if you become who you truly want to be, then you're gonna attract the people that are meant to be in your life as well, right?
Yes.
And it's and the people that are not gonna belong in your life, they're gonna exit, and that's not a bad thing. It might suck. You might be like, oh shit, I was friends with him for a long time or her, or whatever. But like, if they don't fit the mold of the identity you want to be, and they can't accept that, then you know, you got to cut ties. It is what it is.
Mhm.
You don't want these negative thoughts, these negative things from people in your life, that bring you down and kind of hold you back from becoming who you want to be. And you just gotta take that step forward, and don't be scared of who you're gonna lose, because the people you lose are you're meant to lose. Because
Yeah.
you're attacking this new identity, this new person, and it's gonna feel great. It's gonna suck sometimes. You lose some people, or you not even like lose people, but sometimes you don't talk to them as much, or certain things. But you're busy becoming your best self, and it feels great. And you attract new people in your life too. The people in your circle, you want to make sure you can look up to them, right? And like be motivated by them and motivate each other, like and create that synergy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's really cool about what you said too is like, it's like when because those people don't might not necessarily see the vision that you have for yourself, right?
Exactly. Right.
And this is like the problem, right? Because like you can tell those people, your vision, you can tell those people that, but like if it doesn't align with the vision that they have for you, right? Like if it doesn't align with, oh, we go out every Saturday, or we go bowling or something or whatever, like every Friday or whatever, right? And you're
Mhm.
doing something different, and all of a sudden like it doesn't align with the version of you, right? Your version doesn't align with what you're currently doing, so you're going to do something different. All of a sudden it doesn't align with the vision that they had for you. But but somebody else's vision can be completely different, right? Like, for example, like this is just like a, a big crazy example or whatever, right? But like, who's to say that like our vision for like monumental mindsets can't end up on like fucking like Netflix or whatever, right? And we're sitting across the table from like an Ed Milet or whatever, right? Like this could be like the vision, right? Like the ultimate vision or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, like if you try to explain that to somebody, they're just like, nah, you're just two kids from Streamwood, like you guys can't do that or whatever, right? But if the ultimate vision is that and they don't see it for you, but we keep working for that thing and one day we achieve it, it's just like it's like we could say like, "Oh, I knew that all along," right? And then they can too, but they lost contact with you. So all of a sudden like that, I knew it all along that you two are going to do that. All of a sudden like that has no value, right? But if they were there for the whole ride, they were there for the whole journey, there's so much more value in that.
exactly. No, that's totally true. It's tough because like for example, like we always bring up drinking and like the gym is big examples, but because that's for us personally, it's been big
Yeah.
drinking. I used to drink a shit ton.
Monumental.
Yeah, so like my friends would pressure me, like, oh come on, man, you gotta come out and drink. We used to do this. I'm like, yeah, I used to do that. Like that's not who I want to be anymore. You gotta learn to say no. And that's a strong thing about having your identity, your mission statement, whatever you want to call it, you call it whatever you want. But wherever you want to be, write it on paper. And if decisions don't align with who you want to be, don't do it. Say no. You have to be comfortable to say no. You might be scared to say no because like, oh, what is my friend gonna think? Don't worry about that. Like,
Mhm.
I'll just say no. Like, it doesn't align who I want to become. Like, oh, it's just gonna be one night out. We're gonna get slammed and blah blah blah. Have a good time. Like, that's not me anymore, man. Like, you know. So I'm sticking to it, and you got to be strong with that. You got to, and that comes with your identity, and also your desire to become that. Your desire has to be so strong that if something doesn't align with that, you got to say no, and you can't feel bad about. I used to feel bad about saying no to anything, you know like my friends would want to go out to like 3 in the morning or like do stuff I don't want. Like I know that's bad to do, and I just didn't want to do it. But I said yes because I didn't want my friends to accept me, right?
Mhm.
And now I'm just like, fuck, I'm not doing that anymore, and that comes just, and it's easier to control your mind when you know what you want. You got to know what you want and who you want to be, because then you can easily because you don't let your emotion, because if you don't have that solidified, your emotions overtake you, right? And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
I want to hang out, I got to do this, blah, blah. But if you're so strong and desired on who you want to be, there's no, you're not crossing those boundaries. You're like, no, man, I'm not doing that. And you're so strong, and no matter what emotions are going through you at that moment, like, no, like, you guys go out, have fun. I'm gonna go home and do this, or whatever it is. I'm not that person anymore. That's the old me.
Yeah. I think what's so powerful about that too, honestly, is like it, and this is kind of like what the topic that we kind of wanted to cover today was like fear, right?
Yeah,
Because when you start to write those things down, you should be scared of like who you're going to become, right? You
yeah,
should be scared of like, what your ambitions are, what your dreams are, like what your dream car is, right? You should be scared of those things and you should keep writing down all those things, right? You should keep writing down like, I want the Maserati or whatever. I want the, $500,000 house. I want a, uh, gorgeous European girlfriend or something, right? Like you should write those down. And if they scare you, right, that's perfect because now is the time that you can start jumping into those fears and saying, like, and now you reverse engineer them, right? Well, how do I get this, beautiful European girlfriend, right? Well, I'm not in the best shape of my life right now. Maybe I can start hitting the gym and start getting into better shape, right? Well, how do I get the Maserati? Well, I kind of work at a pizza joint right now, so probably I should start leveling up, some skills and try to, make myself much more valuable for a company that I work for and level up my income, right? And the
right.
same thing would go for like a house or something, right? Like if your dreams don't scare you, I think, or your visions don't scare you, or your ambitions don't scare you, or
Right.
like who you want to become doesn't scare you. I don't think that you've wrote down like the correct. You didn't write down, it's. easy to say, right? But I don't think that you wrote down the, the correct coordinates, right? Because like you have to map them out, and you have to be scared of those things, because if something is so easy to get, right? Like if I can just go to McDonald's, or if I can go to Kuma's or something, like it's going to be so much more valuable or it's going to be so much more rewarding for me to go to Kuma's and get the burger than it is for me to get the McDouble, because I can get the McDouble anytime I want to. They're open 24 hours. It's really cheap, and I can go and get it, within 5 minutes of me driving from my house. But I
Mhm.
can't do that for Kuma's, because Kuma's is an hour away. Usually it's an hour wait there too. And like the burgers are, highly sought after. They're made by chefs or whatever, right? So it's like when you push things out like a little bit further like that, and the reward, is much harder to get. I think that there's, I guess that's not really like translating to fear so well, but when you write those things down, right,
Mhm.
and they're scary, like that's when I think it's so much more valuable to jump into those fears like that.
It is, right? And like, so when I wrote down my identity, my mission statement, right? What do I want? I want like that financial freedom when I'm older, right? I want or ASAP. I want to be financially free. So like, what do I got to do now to get there, right? And not, you might feel scared and overwhelmed, like, damn, like it's impossible to get there, and you're like, you just give up then and there, right? And you're scared, like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. But like, what steps can I take today? And like, a year ago I started, or over a year, like almost 2 years now. I've been a year and a half, something like that. I've been budgeting, right, and seeing where all my money is going. So that's step one. Like, well, where's my money going? I'm making
Hmm.
money. What the fuck am I doing with it? So like, I'm spending, $1,000 a month on alcohol. I'm spending like over $1,000 on video games and collectibles, and I'm like, what the fuck am I? I'm buying all this stuff because I can, but it's not like what I want in my life, right? And if I think back of like, oh fuck, and this is like the woulda, coulda, shoulda thing, right? Oh, if I saved, that $2,000 a month and invested it, I'd be closer to my goal today. But instead of saying that, okay, this is what I'm gonna do now. So now I'm budgeting, I'm investing, I'm doing all this so that I can be financially free. Because like people think about, I just want a lot of money, but why do you want the money, right? It's like and it's for me, it's being financially free, being able to, do what I want, when I want, how I want, right? And that would be, I would feel so fulfilled in my life, be with the love of my life, be able to travel when I want to, have my business. You have to visualize what you want to have, right? And for me, it's, I want the love of my life. I want to be super romantic with her, travel the world and, have my business where I can just keep on traveling, work on my laptop while I'm traveling, work, having my business. That's life, man. That's the life I want to live. And it's scary to think about that. Like, there's no way I can do that. I'm scared of that. There's no fucking way. And everyone's gonna say there's no way. Yeah, right, man. But if you put your mind to it and you have that strong desire, you're gonna do it, and no one's gonna stop you. You know.
And remember that there's people out there today doing it, right? So like
Exactly.
if there's people out there that are out there doing it today, right? Right now, as we're sitting here having this conversation, they're opening up their laptops in Romania or something, and they're freaking at the Starbucks or something, and they're fucking making money like in the UK. Like if they can do it, like so can we. We just have to figure out how to do it, you
Exactly.
know?
If your desire is so strong, you're gonna figure it out. You're gonna fall back sometimes. You're gonna feel like I'm stuck, and that's fine because you're as long as you have that desire and imagination to get there, you're gonna get there, and you just don't give up. And that's why it's important to know what you want. Because if you strongly know what you want and why you want it, you're not gonna give up on it. Like me imagining that future is fucking phenomenal. Like I'd be that. That's the life I want to live. And I'm gonna get there, and no one's gonna stop me. And that's the mindset you gotta have. You just gotta keep on. Like for example, for me, like I owed over half of my mortgage at the beginning of this year. I'm on par on paying it off by the end of the year. You know,
Let's go.
you know,
Yes.
and and everyone's like, "You're fucking nuts." Like my parents, like, "Yeah, right. You're fucking crazy. You ain't gonna do." I'm like, "Watch me." And it almost fuels me when people doubt me, right? And I'm like, "Watch me. I'm gonna do that." And plus, I'm investing at the same time because, like obviously, there's certain like things you want to do with your money, blah blah. I don't want to get into that in this episode right now, but like at the end of the day, I'm still making the smart money moves plus paying off my mortgage and like how you doing all that? Because I'm fucking maniacal about this. I'm gonna do it. Like you get fucking,
Yeah.
and people are like I keep on bringing up that Busta Rhymes clip. We gotta like post that or something. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's you have your goal. You get absolutely crazy about it. Like I'm gonna get there, no matter what it takes, no matter what people think. They're gonna doubt me, and and I'm gonna do it. And right now I'm on goal to that's one of my goals for this year is to pay off my mortgage plus max out my certain investments I'm doing, and all that's on par. And it's at first I was like, man, that's no fucking way I'm gonna do that. But once I like got so strong on it, I'm like, I'm gonna do it. Here's my plan on doing it. It's gonna happen, right? And you're gonna find a way to, and it feels great because now I'm like, wow, I conquered something I never thought I'd be able to do. Because like my mortgage was like what 15-year mortgage, and I paid less than half of it in like 7 years. I'm paying off more than half in less than a year now because I've changed all my habits to align with my goal. Right? I want to be financially free, so get rid of my debt, get rid of all my debt, and start investing,
Mhm.
off passive income, and not can travel. Maybe start a business off this passive income and take those risks and whatever else. This is step one, right? Get rid of all my debt and invest in the right places and stuff. So, and also I got this new job that pays a little more, whatever, like all these things that align with my goal because I'm so strong on it. And it's not like I'm sitting here trying to brag. I'm just saying like anything's possible.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
impossible to do all this. But at the end of the day, this is the future. I want you because you visualize that future, right? And I think it was in the Level Up book, right? So I'm visualizing myself on the Fiji Islands with my feet in the water, with my laptop working. Like this is fucking like,
Perched up on the side.
dude. And you fucking you visualize that every day. I'm telling you. Do like a five. It's like when you're meditating. If you meditate like once a day for like five, I only do 5 minutes. But that's more than most people. And what I do that I visualize my future and then I get so strong. Like, I'm gonna fucking have this future. It's like it's saying my feet in the sand, laying in the sun. Just collecting. Being free. I just want to be free on this planet, man. I don't want to be working for someone for the rest of my life. Wake up to 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, and just be almost. I consider like a slave.
Mhm.
The comparison, I have to do that. I don't want to. I don't want to have to do anything. I mean, I can rephrase that. I get to wake up and go to the job. I'm grateful for that. Yes. I'm getting better with that too. But I want to have that financial freedom of just being able to do what I want when I want. Right. So, yeah. I mean, I keep on rambling, but it's such a strong thing to just know exactly who you want to be, what you want, visualize it, be so strong on it, and be crazy about it. Like crazy, like be Kobe Bryant crazy. Be crazy. Like look at that. He's the closest thing to Michael Jordan because that guy put in more work than anybody. And people probably thought, yeah, right, this guy ain't no fucking Jordan, but damn close. I'll tell you that.
Mhm.
And when he was like young, I didn't like him because I was a big MJ fan, but now like I respect the hell out of him because like all the work he's put in, and and that's a good thing to have is have that person that has what you want, right? And kind of develop their habits and how they got
Mhm.
there. And Kobe is just such a inspiration to me, and it's crazy because I used to never like the guy when I was young because I'm a big MJ fan. You get like so stuck on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like now I look back at it and I'm more mature. It's like, man, like Kobe was the fucking man. Like this guy, put in the work. He's working out till 3 in the morning while people are sleeping. Like you got to do that if you want to become, that top 1% or whatever.
Mhm.
But I'll let you take it, man. I've been talking too much.
No, 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 no. But I think what's awesome about like all that, like what you said, right, is like I think this is one of the most powerful things I think that I learned from Les Brown, right, was the fact like when you can say all those things, right, like I'm gonna pay off my mortgage early, like everybody's gonna think I'm crazy, I'm gonna have like a job and I'm gonna be in Fiji or something with my feet in the water, right? I
Yep.
think the most powerful thing that like, Les Brown would always open up like his seminars or something, and he would say something, and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, he's like, I want you to say one thing with me, right? I want you to say, it's possible,
Yep.
right? And I think that that is so powerful. Like and I wrote it on my mirror, right?
Hmm.
Because I forgot. I forgot who said to like I think it was maybe like Tony Robbins or something, but they said like those incantations, right? Don't forget them. Like when you tell yourself like those, we have like the goal of what we want to do for like our new uh, MRR, right? Like monthly reoccurring revenue, like for what we want to do for like the remainder of the year. We have that written on the mirror too. And So, but the thing is like to remind yourself every single day that it's possible, right? And to have this goal that's scary, that's so hard, that's like seems inachievable, right? But like to make sure that you look back at that, it's possible because it is, right? It's so fucking possible. And I think what another thing that you were talking about too, that I think has like a lot of translation into something else. In the business world, they call them stackable traits, right? Because like stackable traits are something that like once you develop the skill to do something, then all of a sudden like you have like this the next skill that compounds on top of that, right? So
Yeah.
for example, like if I were to give somebody like $1 million, right, and they didn't have any money management, like chances of them blowing through that, and the proof is out there, right? Like there's a lot of data about like people who have won millions of dollars and stuff, and
Mhm.
like they just blow through it within like a year or 2 years or something, and then all of a sudden, and I've ran into somebody like this when I used to be in the car business. Dude
Yeah.
won like a couple $1 million from like his mom had to get her arm amputated or something, and then he went in there buying like two 350Zs, and then 2 years later he had to come and trade in both of those cars, and he had to leave with two Sentras, right? Because he mismanaged the money, he spent too much of that money. So
Mhm.
what I'm talking about with these stackable traits, right, is all of a sudden like when you start to tell yourself like, hey, it's possible, right? And then you're on par for all these things, right? So like you're about to pay off your mortgage at the end of the year, right? Or even before, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden like you have a stackable trait of I know how to manage money,
Yep.
right? And the better you get with managing money this year, all of a sudden it's going to get so much better because you don't have any debt, right? And
Right.
all of a sudden you have only your income that you can leverage, right? So like all of a sudden, like this stackable trait of I know how to manage the money, it's just going to get better because now you're going to have more money. You're going to be able to take more opportunities, right? And all of a sudden, you've been able to stack this trait so big that like once you get the new skill, right? So all of a sudden, it's going to be like I know how to manage money, plus I know how to manage a business, plus I know how to manage employees, plus I know how to do this, plus I know how to work remotely, plus I know how to do this. All these things become stackable traits that you can um you know they become leverage for yourself, right? And all because of that one thing that you said it's possible, right? And then you achieve that thing, and even if you fall short, right, even if you do it 2 months after the year,
Yeah.
at least you did it 6 years and 6 years and what is it 2 months 6 years and 8 months faster than you would have if you were on track to do in the 15 years, you know what I
Right.
mean? Because you paid off the first six
Mhm.
earlier, or you said, right? So it'd be like 6.5 years difference, even if you did it a year and 2 months after.
Right. Yeah, and it's if you don't push yourself to that limit, even if you come close to it, like that's a shit ton better than you would have done if you didn't have that crazy like visualization of I'm gonna meet that goal, right? So you always want to have your goal, I call it like a stretch goal, right? Of like make it difficult, don't make it easy, like because if you make it difficult, you're gonna strive so hard for that, and even if you come up a little short, you're fucking way better off than you were before, and you're gonna learn a lot along the way, right? You learn more when you
Hmm.
set your goals a lot higher. Like, don't make your goal impossible. Don't be like, I'm gonna buy me a spaceship and travel in space. Like, you
Not a
know,
Jeff Bezos.
I'm gonna blast a cock rocket into the air tomorrow.
Crockett with some butt butter.
But like, it's you have it be a stretch. Have it be difficult, not impossible, but difficult, right? Like, and you're gonna learn a lot. And the biggest thing is sticking to that goal. Anything that doesn't align with your goal, saying no, right? Like when I got the new job and the bonuses, whatever. I love my brother to death, love more than anybody. But like, he's like, "Oh, why don't you get a nice car, a nice Beamer, and this and that?" I'm like, "Cause that's not my goal. That's not what I want to do." Maybe there's someone that loves cars and that's what they envision. That's cool. Like, go ahead and buy that nice Beamer. But for me, I'm fine with my Camry, man. That Camry makes me happy. That thing chugging
Yes,
until 100,000
sir.
miles. So for me, cars from a point A to point B. I'm not a car guy. So like, I don't need to buy a fucking nice car. For me, I just want to have things paid off. I want to be free, live like a nice, easy life. So that's not my goal. To someone else, like, cool, man. If you want to buy a nice car, that's awesome. Excited for you. That's badass. Like, buy your Lambo or the fuck you want to buy. Like, if you can afford it and that's your goal and you get there, do it. Right. But everyone has different goals. So just knowing what you want and not giving into that pressure, right? Because like my whole life, I gave into people. I guess we talked about earlier in this episode.
Hmm.
Like my parents, right? They're like, "Oh, why you still grab that crappy car? You're making all this money." That's not my goal. And a lot of my life, I grew up trying to make my parents proud of me, right? So like, um, maybe the old me would be like, oh, you're right, I should buy a nice car. Make my parents proud, like, oh, you got a nice car. But that's not what makes me happy, right? I don't need a nice car. If I'm driving a Beamer or driving my Camry, it's the same thing to me. Maybe I mean, if I bought a Beamer, I'd be like, this is a nice car. Wow, that's cool. But like after a couple weeks, I'm like, it's just a car.
Mm-hmm.
That cheap, to me, it's just like a cheap dopamine thing. Like, oh, I got a nice car now, but now I need the next nicest car. It's like the money trap, man. It's like now I need the next nicest car, the next nicest car, because you get that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's not my
Yeah.
goal. If you're a car guy, go for it. I'm all for it. But like that's why I'm saying you got to know what you want and not give in to like other people's like opinions or goals that they have in their life, right? Everyone's gonna be
Yeah.
different.
100%. I think that, I think that, so like for me, right? Like when we got like our car, like I think we would probably, if I could do that again, like I probably wouldn't get like such an expensive car, just because like I think that it's, at the end of the day, like it really does just, it only gets me to the gym, right? It only gets me, and then I have like my work car, right? Where I just get like in between jobs and stuff like that. And they both do the same thing,
Mhm.
both of them do the exact same thing. It's just like, it's how you, it's, a lot of times like people, I think they have like this, it's like social pressure, right? It's like this perception thing, right? It's like, oh, if I don't drive the nice car, all my friends are going to think that I'm lame or whatever, right? But then if you get it inside you, like, then it starts to infect your head and you're just like, oh man, like, they're going to think I'm lame. Then you're going to get social pressured into buying something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a lot of benefit in finding, things that reward you for what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
So like, for instance, for like me, right? So I have like this thing where like I wake up, but like I wake up like real early in the morning. I send you my gratitude text because you're the only person I text, and it's like, hey King, good morning, baby. But I think finding something that is rewarding for you, and like for me, I do it like this. I reward myself with, literally, I go to Sam's Club every week, right?
Mhm.
And I buy myself like this 10 pack of it's gonna sound so gay, but it's like those Core Elite protein
Yeah.
those protein drinks or whatever.
Mhm.
Because like for me, like when I get up early, right? And I go to the gym and I like conquer the day, I really, really feel rewarded. Like I reward myself with like this protein drink, right? And like it feels very satisfying when like I'm drinking. It sounds very hollow, right? But it's like I love drinking like this 42 grams of protein after I just smashed a hard session inside of the gym. So
Mhm.
for me, like this is like where I get like that reward from, right?
Right.
And I think, and I think what you were saying though, right? Like, as if somebody finds like a lot of reward in the car, great, right? If you find a lot of reward in the protein, great. Like, if and I think it's really important that somebody, if you're pursuing something hard, to just, give yourself that, hey, if it's ice cream, eat the ice cream, right? Because you did that hard thing, but don't eat too much of it. Don't eat the whole pint. Like, give yourself a little small cup because you earned that reward, right?
Right.
Like, and I think that is something that I've had to like, because before, I think I would like try to like reward myself too much, right?
Mhm.
Like I was always, because with our business, it grew really fast, and this is kind of like where a lot of conflicts happened, in my life or whatever. It's because we grew really fast, and then all of a sudden, there was just like, a lot of money. We're just like, fuck it, let's buy this, let's buy that, let's buy this, and like it was hard days or whatever, but they weren't the hardest, right? Like there was no extra hard on top of that. It was just like, let's constantly reward, right? Instead of like delaying the gratification and being like, hey, let's maybe save for this trip or something, right? Because it'll be more rewarding after. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and it's but then you learn from that experience, right? Because you can look back and be, oh, I wish I should have done this, I should have done that. But now, because that happened, you learn from it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
now you can do better next time. So, like I had that thing, like I said, like I look back in the past, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Man, I would have had this by now, but you can't do anything about it. The thing you can do about it now is change now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do it now. So always take those lessons and apply them.
Yeah, create new habits, and now you have new tools from like the mistakes that you made before. And I think that's what's like so important about making the mistakes, is like, okay, like now that I made the mistake, and I'm not going to do the same action to that same, if I have something that happens that's similar and I don't do the same action, that means I learned, right? That means you created a new behavior. That means like your brain became plastic and you learned something else.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's important too when you're becoming like a new identity or new goals and stuff. Is kind of like habit tracking, kind of like I call it the
Mm.
80/20 rule. Like make sure like, at least like 80% of your actions align with who you want to be. And then, 20% or the 20%, I'm not saying do bad things on purpose, but you're not going to be perfect, right? You're not going to be perfect, right? I'm not saying, oh, I'm automatic. I get 20% to do what I want. No, you're never going to be 100%, right? It's tough. It's hard to change. So like give yourself, don't feel guilty that you're not 100% of who you want to be. Just get better and better, right? Maybe start at 80%, then go to 90%, 95%. Then, fully become that person you want to be. But like tracking those habits and being like, hey, here's the things I did today. What aligns with who I want to be and what doesn't align. And you look at the things that don't align and be like, why did that happen? How can I not make that happen again?
Yeah. Yeah, what I really liked from, the Atomic Habits book, and
Mhm.
maybe we touched on this last time, but we've definitely touched on it, like, in a conversation that we've had before, but I
Yeah.
think it's really, really important, to just push your gate or push your baseline, right?
Hmm.
By 1% every day,
Yeah.
right? And it's like if you can just focus on becoming 1% better every day, right? If you didn't shower yesterday, if you shower today, that means you're 1% better. If I didn't cook breakfast today, right? But I wanted to cook breakfast and I cook it tomorrow, I'm 1% better, right? And
Mhm.
that's kind of like that kind of goes hand in hand with that habit tracking, right? Because if you can just focus on making little increments of your life better one by one, right? And you do it for 1 year, right? Just 1%. That's 36.5% better you've become throughout the whole year instead of focusing on becoming 100% better in 2 weeks.
Yeah, because
Because the chances of you becoming 100% better in 2 weeks is like there's like no way, right? You're not gonna get six packs, you're not gonna get meat mortars
you need more.
in 2 weeks, right?
Shout out.
But if you focus on just doing, but let's say like your big goal is like big biceps or whatever, right? You're not gonna get it in 2 weeks. But like if you focus 1% of your workouts every single day on biceps, by the end of the year, of
Right.
you focusing 1% on just doing bicep curls or something every single day, you're gonna have little mini meat borders on you.
Exactly. And I know I was kind of saying that earlier, like, your goals are you set your goals, don't make them impossible, but make them tough to obtain, right? If you
Yeah.
want huge biceps, if that's your goal, you set that goal, but you got to know, like, you got to put in the work for one, and you got to, have those habits set to get to that goal. And little by little, you're not going to see anything, but then maybe by month 3 you're like, wow, my biceps look huge. I'm the
Mhm.
next fucking Arnold now. But if you like, go to the gym once this week, once next month, and be like, oh, why don't I have big biceps? You didn't change your habits, right?
Yeah.
You got to make it a daily habit to get where you want. You got to. I keep on saying the word maniacal because I love it. Trying to bust a rhyme. Right? You want something, get crazy about it. Like
Yeah.
people call you crazy. That's all. That's a good thing. Oh, Tim's crazy. He thinks he's gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna fucking do it. I don't think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You just get crazy about it, and people are gonna think you like it's not gonna happen. Blah blah blah. But then when it happens, you're a genius, right?
Yeah.
Tim did this. It's like, wow. And then, like you said, some people come back and I'd be like, oh, I always knew you would do that. No, you didn't. Like, you doubted me. That's a fuel.
Yeah.
I use doubt as fuel. I love it. I know
Yeah.
I love
Same,
doubt.
same.
Like, you don't think I can do it? Watch me, right? And but that's not the main thing from it. The main thing is, just being so driven to be who you want to be or what you want to obtain. But you knowing the why is the big thing, right? Knowing why you want that is what's going to drive you, and
Mhm.
and that's what's going to push you past your fear, right? And knowing like what's on the other side of that fear is who I want to be. So when I feel that fear, I'm going to embrace it. Like, whew, this is scary, but I'm about to fucking jump. Here I go. And then once you're done, you feel so good. It's crazy and it feels great.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, one of those I really like that why thing, and that was that. So I think I was like thinking about something that like me and you had talked about when I wrote one of those posts for the threads thing, and
Mhm.
it was I forgot what I was thinking about, but like I was thinking about it, and it was like I forgot what I said, but it was like you forgot your why, right? Like you forgot your why. That's why you stopped, and remember why you started. Right. And I think that's why it's so important that, like, if you're going to write down your mission statement, or if you're going to write down, like, if you're going to have a why, write it down.
Yep.
right? And if you write it down, right, and then you forgot, go back to it and reread it and put some
Yep.
context behind it, right? Like,
Right.
why is this my why? Like,
Mhm.
why is, becoming such a better family man, like, such a big why for me, right? Well, because I want to be there for my kids, right? Because I don't want to miss birthdays anymore, because I don't want to miss the softball games anymore, right? Because I don't want to be a fucking slob alcoholic eating potato chips from my belly button, or like,
Right.
at the end of the day, like, like when you write down the why, like, and you forget it, just go back to it, right? Like, that's why it's so important to like have a journal or have a book or something, right? And like, and I'm not, like, guilty, right? Like, I'm raising my hand guilty here because I don't keep as good as a journal as I should. But at the end of the day, I think, like, if you can just remember your why when things get hard, right? Like, this is like it's just such like a, to sharp recall for you. Oh yeah, that's why I wrote that. I don't want to eat Cheetos from my belly button anymore.
Yeah. Like me, like all like the financial goals I have. Like if I just looked at it as a financial goal, I'd probably slack off and not meet it, right? But my why is why it's so strong, and that's why I desire it,
Mhm.
right? And I'm visualizing that why every fucking day. I'm meditating, like, I'm in the Fiji Islands, just chilling, not worried about a damn fucking thing. I'm living life, or I get to try. I can, if I want to travel, wherever I want, when I want. Like that's why I'm doing this. Like so you suck up the heart of today, so it's easy tomorrow, and it's and that they say that a lot, things that if you got to make things hard now so they're easy for your future, right? Because if you keep on taking the easy path, easy path, easy path, you're never gonna get where you want to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that why I'm telling you that why is so powerful, and you have to if you whatever you need to do to like embrace that why every day. If you need to write it down every morning, every day before you go to bed, or just visualize it when you meditate, or whatever. Like remember your why and why you're doing this stuff because it's hard. 'Cause I want to spend my money, like but like, is me buying a nicer car gonna really is me having a nicer car or me having financial freedom in the future more important, right? Oh, me having that financial freedom, that's what I want. I don't care about the car,
Mhm.
you know. So you gotta it's nice if you have both. Maybe someday you can, but you gotta have that trade off of like taking the harder path, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I want to have a nice fit body, right? Oh, I'd rather sit at home and watch Netflix all day. It's the easy way, right? But no, I'm gonna get my ass up. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna fucking rock that stairmaster for 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna hit some weights. And then you feel so much better because it was hard, right? If you do something that's easy, you never feel accomplished. If I sit on the couch and watch Netflix for an hour, I'm like, oh yeah, I just watched the whole movie, baby. I'm fucking pumped. No, you never. Nobody ever does that. And you know what I'm saying? And it's for me. I feel like and I love watching the movie here and there just to like
Mhm. Turn your brain off.
your brain off, but like don't make that like your main source because like and that's another thing where I think social pressure, like, oh, the show on Netflix, and then you get hooked on the show on Netflix. You watch it 2 hours a day, 2 hours. You take that 2 hours a day of watching Netflix. You hit the gym. You're gonna have that body you want. You're gonna or whatever goals
Mhm.
you have. It doesn't have to be working out, but like you take that 2 hours a day and apply it to a goal that you really want. Like you're gonna feel so much more accomplished. No one ever wakes up and be like, oh yeah, yesterday I fucking watched 2 hours on Netflix. I feel, you know. But like but when I wake up and I'm like, man, I just crushed those fucking weights yesterday. My body's feeling good. It's like I
Mhm.
accomplished something. And it's you gotta take the hard path, of reaching your goals.
Yeah, and what I think is like really important about that too is like for a big takeaway
Mhm.
is, and it's kind of like what you alluded to before, it's that it has to be hard and attainable, right?
Yep.
And I
Hard
think like
Viagra.
it has to be hard and attainable because like if it's easy and like attainable, like there's not much there, right? Like you can go to the gym and lift 5 pound weights every single day, and you might be sore one day or 2 days, right? But by the second week, your body is so used to that. Like your body, like everything is about that is just like there's a point of diminishing return for that, right? Like
Mhm.
just lifting 5 pound weights. So that's why it has to be hard, right? And that's
Yep.
why your heart has to move. Like your heart has to move because like this is the way you grow. This is the way you level up. This is the way like your fear gets, suppressed, and you become like the 2.0 or the 3.0 version of yourself is
Right.
just by doing, making the goals hard and attainable, Like I think that this is the most important thing about like all that. Because like if it's super easy and you achieve it every single day, right? And it's easy, right? Like it's if it's like I'm only going to make oatmeal today, right? And you do that every single day, you're only going to get the reward the first day or the second day. Every other day after that, the oatmeal is going to be like it's just oatmeal.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. You gotta continue to improve yourself. Barker's making a lot of weird noises, but
He's chomping on those feet over there.
boy, he's up. But like, yeah, I mean, you just gotta continue to make it harder and harder on yourself, right? And you compare it to the gym. You know, I bench 140 pounds or whatever. If you keep on benching 140 pounds, you're never gonna get better and better. You go 140, you go 160, you keep on increasing that weight, and you just get stronger and stronger and stronger. It's the same thing with like mental toughness or like working to your goals. You know, it's everything. You got to make it harder and harder on yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just that's easy to relate to the gym. But you relate that to anything, mental toughness, anything. You know,
I
being
really
in
think
high
that
school, I remember,
the
like
gym is sorry.
no, go ahead.
The gym is like the perfect metaphor for everything though, right? Like I really think that like like and we were fortunate, right? Because like we started in the Park Place days. We were like 14, 15 years old, like fucking lifting with like some old geezers inside of like the weight rooms or whatever.
Yeah,
But like they were ahead of the curve, right? They're just like, hey, I gotta live longer. Resistance training is a real thing. Like, the hormones that like your muscles secrete or whatever. But we were fortunate about that. But the older I get, like the more I understand that like that there's so much to like the gym and like there's so much to gym culture, like
mhm,
that there's so much that translates into real life because like it is about perseverance. It is about like
yeah,
breaking through the resistance. It is about overcoming plateaus. Like it is about getting under the heavy weights even though you don't want to, right? Or even just fucking showing up. Like all of that translates into life so well. It translates into the job. It translates into a business. It translates into your relationship, right? Because like if something is hard in your relationship and you just show up, right? And like you just have that hard conversation, that's equivalent to benching 225 five
right.
times or
Yeah,
5 sets or whatever, right?
that
Or
tough.
like I don't want to do squats today and you do them.
Hmm. Right. Like, I'm probably like for me, for example, like, having a conversation with someone for 5 minutes a day, like, that for me is like stepping in the gym for the first time, I'm
Mhm.
stepping into the social gym, I was like, whew, I got to talk to
Ooh, social gym. I like that.
someone. So I got to talk to someone, and, maybe once I get used to that, then I'll go, okay, I mean, talk to two different people a day, or, maybe have this X kind of communication with somebody, like whatever my goals are to keep on improving that, right? Once I feel comfortable enough, okay, I overcame that fear. Let's stretch it a little more. Let's stretch it a little more, and you become better and better, right? Because me, I'm always been shy and awkward, but I don't want to be that person anymore. It's not me. Because like I
He's
said,
got those meat cannons over there.
but for me, it's like if I want to have an impact on people's lives, I can't be this shy person. I got to be able to, lift people up, and you have to talk to people to do that. I can't mime,
Mime them and sign.
Yeah, I can learn sign language, I guess. But no, you know what I mean. It's like you have to like push past your
Parker's back there jumping off the bed.
child. He wants to play. He wants to play. But you just I think overall I think we'll wrap this up soon. We've been on here for an hour and 20.
I can't believe that. I just looked at the time. I'm like, it's an hour and 22 minutes. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, like, we call these a podcast, but basically, this is just us having authentic, like, communication. This is what we do on the phone every
It
day.
literally is. This is how we talk on the phone.
Yeah, so like, we're just recording it for everyone to listen to. But like, yeah, well, I think from today, we talked a lot about, fear is one of the big topics. We talked about a bunch of topics, but I think at the end of the day, overcoming your fears to grow into that person you want to be, right? And just embracing the uncomfortable, embracing that fear, and using that to grow and recognizing that, right? So, be sure who you want to be. Write it down. You know, write it down on paper, or think about it every day, visualize it every day. Whatever you need to do to know who you want to be, and just know the why and who you want to be or what you want and all of that, right? And then once you reach these, these moments of where, man, I feel scared to do this, or I feel, just do it, because that's good. That's good that you feel scared. You know, if you don't feel scared, you're not in the right place. And you feel the fear, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Boom, you do it, and then you're growing, right? In order to grow, you have to conquer your fears and step
Mhm.
over that boundary. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. And not to let, like, there's so many different fears. When you say fear, it's like there's so many different fears: fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of, failure, fear of success. There's fear of a lot of things, right? And you just got to overcome those fears. And when you know what you want, why you want, the why is the biggest thing. Know the why, and do not give in to anything else. Be don't uncompromising, right? Don't say no to everything that doesn't align with it. No matter what, you might
Mhm.
be scared to lose people in your life. You might, be scared that you're missing out on, oh man, all my friends are going out and partying and getting hammered on a whole bottle of vodka and this and that. Like, the fear of missing out, whatever you want to call it. Like, no, it's not aligning who I want to be, right? So you just gotta, stick to it, embrace the fear, because once you feel the fear, that's a good thing. Now you got to do the right thing with it and go with it, right? And cross that boundary, and that's where you're gonna grow.
Yeah. I think that, and I'll just like kind of expand on that too,
Yeah, go
because I
ahead.
think that was beautiful. I think at the end of the day too, it's just like, people are chasing milestones, right?
Mhm.
Like people's whole lives are about chasing milestones. They're like,
Yeah,
your first one is like, I'm going to turn 18 or 16, I can drive, 18, I can,
yeah.
I'm out of school, 21, I'm getting to, go to college or something like that, or I'm getting out of college or something like that. But it's like those are always like you're chasing fear at the end of the day too. Like once you get older, right? You just have like those milestones that you're chasing, they almost become like the fears that you have to overcome. I have a fear of getting a new job. I have a fear of stepping into a new department. I have a fear of opening up this business or whatever, right? And all of a sudden you overcome that thing and all of a sudden it becomes your milestone, right? Well,
Mhm.
this was a new milestone because I had a baby. I wasn't ready to have a baby, but now I'm a father, right? And
Yeah,
all of a sudden that becomes your milestone. You were scared of it, but you overcame it.
right.
And I think, yeah, I think this was a really beautiful, conversation on like a whole bunch of things. But I think the fear part is like, it's a big part. It's a big thing for everybody, right? But for me
Yeah.
especially, right? Like, and for one of the things that I wanted to touch on that social health type of thing too, real
Mhm.
quick before we wrap this up, is like I have that same thing, right? I go to the gym, like I'm just like a lone wolf over there. I'm just like, doing my own thing or whatever. And there's like people having conversations, and it's just like, man, like maybe I should just walk up there and be like, hey man, like, can you spot me or whatever? And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, like have like a little conversation with somebody. But like, I think over, and then all of a sudden that becomes a milestone, right? Because
Yeah.
all of a sudden you talk to somebody and you're just like, well, I'm not such a lone wolf anymore. I'm a baby alpha pup young wolf or something, or
Right. And then
um
for me, like when I've been approaching people at the gym more, like, like, because we've been like doing this kind of self work together and stuff, and like I kind of spread that with them. They're like, wow, that's like great advice, Tim. I appreciate that. And then it makes me feel good, right? Like, wow, Tim, like, you know y- your mindset is great, and like I wish I had your, like, it's just like nice to hear those things, because that's like,
mhm,
one, I know I'm making progress, but two, I'm touching them and making them realize, like, wow, there's things that they want to change in their life, and
mhm,
it feels good to have a positive impact on people, instead of like the old me where I was super negative about everything. I was a negative, depressed boy. So now having like this whole new, I'm a whole new person, and being
all of a sudden you become the beacon.
right, right, and everyone's like, wow, Tim makes me feel so good, or like, he opens up my mind to like, wow, I can do this or I can do that, and it just feels good, because that's what I want to do, and that makes me feel fulfilled in my life, right? That's part of my mission statement I wrote down, is I just want to have a positive impact on people in my life, right? And it just feels so good to do that, and I get emotional with it, because it just feels so good, whether it's my loved ones, or even random people or friends. But obviously, it feels more fulfilling with my loved ones and stuff. But even though, like, people I don't know, when I touch someone's life and I see they're struggling and I touch their life in a positive way, it feels so good, Because I,
Harker.
but it's just like, that's part of my mission statement. In order to do that, I have to break some of my my habits and and conquer those fears of mine. And once I do, I feel so good. I'm gonna keep on doing it and keep on getting better.
Hell yeah.
And
Well,
and I want everyone else to do that too. Man. It's like if you're scared to do it, do it. Like if that's what you want, do it. Like because once you like move past that fear, you feel so good. You know, you feel so damn good that you conquered that fear, and you're making that one step closer to who you want to be. Because if you get to that fear and you stay where you're at, you're gonna be stuck where you're at for so long because and it's such like I said, fear for the most part, 97% of the time is made up. You're afraid of something that's perceived. It's not real, and if you can just recognize that and just do it, and you're like, wow, that wasn't bad. Like
mhm.
I love this person. So, it was a good conversation. Like, it wasn't that bad. But in your mind, you're like, oh, I don't know. They're going to think I'm the worst person ever if I say this, and that. You overthink
Mhm.
it. You kind of create all this false stuff. And it's like, just do it. So when you feel that fear and it aligns with who you want to be, just do it. That's it. It's simple as that. Embrace the fear.
Love it. Love it. Well, brother, this was a beautiful conversation. This is so good. Oh my
You're
gosh.
like, oh, we go 30 minutes.
I know I know we're like, let's go 30 minutes, and all of a sudden I look at the clock. I'm like, it's an hour and 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Right.
But every single time that we get on like the phone or something, it's like an hour conversation,
No, I
or you know
know.
what I mean? Like it's just they're always beautiful conversations, but they always go by like I blink my eyes and I'm like, how did we just talk for that long?
Right. These are great combos, man, and these are great for for the both of us. And that's why we want people to hear it because it's just us having an authentic conversation, and it just feels good because then it holds us one, it holds us accountable, and two, it like opens our mind when we talk to each other, and it's like, oh wow, yeah, when you say certain things a certain way, it's like, oh wow, opens your mind when you talk about it with other people. So yeah, I mean, if you're going through something, don't feel connect with someone else that's going through the same thing, and work through it together. That's always a big help. That's helped me with you, man. And I
Likewise, brother.
couldn't do without
Likewise.
this journey. Wouldn't have been the same without you.
100%, man. Like I 100% agree with that. It would I am for sure would not be like on the other side how I feel like strong and just confident and all that like without talking to you and just feel like I have like somebody that like understands from like like and listens, you know what I mean? So
Right.
like likewise, brother.
Yeah, 'cause,
Likewise.
I mean, I'm gonna extend it here like maybe 30 seconds, but like a minute or something. But like it's tough to like the hardest part, right, is actually accepting that you want to grow, like because like for both of us, we kind of hit like a rock bottom, right? And before that, you're kind of like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and you mute out your issues, right? And you're muting out your issues because you're scared to address them. You don't want to address them. You're scared of it. You're like, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. But then like once I hit rock bottom, I had no fucking choice but to improve myself. Right now, I'm like, oh shit, this is a wake up call. I need to change my life around, and now I'm like on this path, right? But like, I don't want like anyone else to like wait till they hit that rock bottom because it sucks, So like, just be honest with yourself on the stuff you're not happy with in your life now, and make those changes, and push forward, and don't be in denial of like things that are not going so well, and just improve them now. Because if you don't, it's just you're going to get worse and worse and worse, and you're going to hit that point where you just hit rock bottom. And I mean, for me, I guess that's what it took, and it happened for a reason. But like, if there's stuff not going right in your life, address it now, and because you want to live a better tomorrow, it starts now.
I love that. If you want to live a better tomorrow, it starts now.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, brother, I'm gonna get to sleep because it's
But,
past my bedtime now. But man, this was a beautiful conversation. This was amazing, dude. Man, this was beautiful. I'm gonna post this like right now though, so we can listen to it. I'm gonna listen to it tomorrow.
me too.
This is amazing. I love it. Well, have a good night, brother. I love you. And then we'll next week,
Yeah, next week is
episode 3.
Monumental Mindsets.
Monumental Mindsets, baby. Let's go.
Have a good night, man.
You too, brother. Peace.